Today is a beautiful Wednesday, and we are absolutely thrilled to dive into the most shocking, high-stakes drama unfolding in Port Charles right now. I knew this town was crawling with backstabbers, but what is happening right now in Drew's hospital room is a level of twisted betrayal that has honestly left me completely breathless. If you ask me, we are witnessing the birth of the most unexpected, fiercely determined alliance this show has seen in years. And it all starts with a little girl who refused to believe her father was just a helpless patient. Scout has been sitting by Drew's bedside, watching him fade away day after day, but her sharp instincts told her that something was horribly, terribly wrong. While the rest of the family has practically accepted his vegetative state, Scout noticed a subtle, rhythmic twitching in her father's eyelids, a deliberate, repetitive blinking pattern that seemed way too structured to be a random muscle spasm. In a quiet, tense moment when they were finally left alone, Scout realized Drew was actually trying to communicate, using a desperate, silent code to pierce through the fog of his confinement. She began memorizing the sequences, her mind racing as she realized her dad was trapped, screaming from behind a wall of silence, trying to warn her about the monsters lurking right in plain sight. Meanwhile, Nina has been absolutely eating herself alive with a suffocating, paralyzing guilt that she just cannot shake off anymore. Sure, she has made some incredibly questionable choices in the past, and she even played a part in the initial scheme to keep Drew silent. But watching Willow and the ruthless Sidwell completely take over his life and dictate his medical care has pushed her past her breaking point. The turning point came when Nina walked into the hospital room and caught Scout secretly scribbling down those blinking patterns in a hidden notebook. At first, the tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife a fierce, defensive confrontation between a protective daughter and a woman she deeply distrusted. Scout glared at Nina, ready to defend her father's secrets at all costs, but as they locked eyes, Scout saw something unexpected in Nina's tear-filled gaze. She saw genuine, agonizing suspicion. In that silent, heart-stopping moment, Scout realized that Nina wasn't the enemy this time. She was the only adult who actually believed that Drew's condition was a massive, calculated lie. And just like that, an undercover alliance was forged in the shadows of the hospital corridors, completely catching Willow off guard. Nina and Scout began executing a highly coordinated, incredibly risky operation right under everyone's noses, especially Willow's. Nina utilized her wealth, status, and connections to gain access to Drew's highly restricted medical files and the precise schedules of the rotating private nurses, mapping out the exact windows of vulnerability. Scout, on the other hand, used the ultimate weapon, her innocence, playing the part of a grieving, naive child who just wanted to color pictures by her daddy's bed, allowing her to slip past security and search the room for clues. The danger was off the charts, but their bravery paid off when Scout's searching fingers found something deeply disturbing hidden in the medical cabinets. A cache of medication vials that Willow insisted were experimental treatments, but which did not match any official hospital prescriptions on Drew's charts. Scout immediately smuggled the sample out and brought it to Nina, her hands shaking as she realized they were looking at the smoking gun of a massive medical cover-up. Knowing they couldn't trust any of the hospital staff who might be on the payroll of their enemies, Nina and Scout made the executive decision to send the mysterious chemical sample to Liesel for a highly confidential, off-the-books analysis. The agonizing wait for the lab results felt like an eternity, with Nina pacing her office, terrified of what they might uncover, while Scout had to play cool around a highly suspicious Willow. When Liesel finally delivered the results, the truth was even more horrifying than their worst nightmares. Drew wasn't naturally comatose at all. He was being systematically, chemically suppressed with a highly sophisticated cocktail of paralytics and cognitive dampeners designed to keep him physically helpless while slowly eroding his mental faculties. It was a slow-motion execution disguised as medical therapy, and the realization that Willow was actively participating in keeping Drew in this chemical prison sent a wave of pure fury and terror through Nina's veins. But as the net began to tighten, Willow's paranoia reached a fever pitch, and she started sensing that someone was actively working against her in the shadows. Suspicious of the sudden, frequent visits from Scout and Nina, Willow secretly installed a state-of-the-art hidden camera disguised in the hospital room, hoping to catch whoever was snooping around. It almost ended in absolute disaster when Scout, searching for more hidden vials, was just seconds away from being caught red-handed on the live camera feed by a watching Willow. Just as Willow's eyes widened in realization and she prepared to storm into the room, Nina materialized out of nowhere, staging a highly dramatic, loud confrontation in the hallway that completely broke Willow's focus. Nina pushed every single one of Willow's buttons, screaming about family loyalty and respect, giving Scout the precious seconds she needed to notice the camera's blinking red light, retrieve her evidence, and slip out of the room completely undetected. The sheer adrenaline of that near miss was nothing compared to the emotional earthquake that struck next when Drew's body finally began to fight back against the toxins, allowing him to regain consciousness for a fleeting, miraculous moment. He didn't speak to the doctors, and he didn't speak to Nina. The very first person to hear his voice was his brave little girl, Scout, who was holding his hand when his fingers suddenly squeezed hers with surprising strength. In a raspy, barely audible whisper that sent chills running down her spine, Drew gasped out a terrifying warning. You have to be careful. They are watching. Those 5 chilling words changed everything for Scout, making her realize that this wasn't just a sick family dispute or a scheme by Willow to control his estate. This was a massive, deep state conspiracy involving Sidwell and a shadowy, powerful cabal that wanted to extract the highly sensitive political secrets Drew had acquired during his time in captivity, secrets that could destroy lives if they were ever made public. With the clock ticking and the terrifying realization that Drew was scheduled to be transferred to an undisclosed, highly secure rehabilitation facility where he would likely disappear forever, Nina and Scout knew they had to act immediately. They orchestrated a breathtakingly bold, incredibly dangerous midnight escape, bypassing the hospital's security protocols and cutting the power to the wing's surveillance cameras for a brief, crucial window. While Scout quietly wheeled her father's frail body down the service elevator toward a waiting getaway vehicle, Willow suddenly caught wind of the breach and confronted Nina in a explosive, screaming showdown in the dark lobby. Willow spat venom, accusing Nina of destroying everything and exposing her own treachery, while Nina stood her ground like a fierce warrior, taking the verbal blows to buy Scout enough time to get Drew out of the building. But just as Scout successfully secured her father in the van and prepared to flee the city, Drew sat up, his eyes suddenly sharp, clear, and completely focused as he looked at his shocked daughter. In a calm, steady voice that sounded nothing like a sick man, Drew revealed the ultimate mind-blowing twist. He had actually recovered his full strength months ago and had been entirely faking his helpless state to gather ironclad evidence against the conspiracy's true leader. And when Drew whispered the name of the mastermind pulling all the strings from the very beginning, a name that left both Scout and Nina utterly paralyzed with sheer disbelief, the entire world of Port Charles shattered into a million pieces, leaving us to wonder if anyone can truly be trusted ever again.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.